Red Mesa rose like a scar on the horizon, its jagged cliffs catching the last embers of the sun as it sank behind the endless plains. The wind whispered across sagebrush and lonely junipers, carrying tales of long-forgotten travelers, of cattle drives, and of lives carved from grit and resolve. In this harsh land, the soil was hard, the air dry, and yet there was a beauty that demanded respect, the kind of beauty that could humble even the strongest of hearts. Life here was measured in survival. The sun could blister the skin, storms could wash away crops, and the nights were a velvet darkness broken only by stars. But beneath the dust and danger, the land held moments of quiet wonder. A river glinting like liquid silver, wildflowers clinging stubbornly to cliff edges, and the laughter of children daring to run free under the expansive sky. Red Mesa was a place of extremes, and it would change the lives of two souls in ways neither could have imagined. The wind carried a faint trail of dust over the ridge. A lone rider appeared, silhouetted, etched against the fiery horizon. Silas Granger, bounty hunter and drifter, had learned to read the land as a man reads a book. Every ridge, every hollow, whispered secrets, secrets of danger, of refuge, of opportunity. His coat was worn, his boots stiff with dirt and blood, and a long scar marked the line of his jaw like a story he refused to tell. Months on the trail had left him weary, each town a memory of betrayals, bounties collected, and lives lost. He sought nothing but quiet. Though he did not know it yet, Red Mesa would offer more than rest. As dusk deepened, he spurred his horse over the ridge, the soft rhythm of hooves striking the earth like a heartbeat. He had heard whispers of a ranch tucked into a valley, a place untouched by lawless men and the clamor of towns. Perhaps it was time to see if sanctuary existed beyond his endless wanderings.
Below the cliffs, Harper's Hollow stood like a fortress against the wild. Lydia Harper, young widow and steward of the land, moved with the rhythm of someone who knew every fence post, every cow, every stone. She had inherited the ranch after her husband succumbed to fever, leaving her alone to manage the homestead and her small son, Ethan. Lydia was strength embodied. Her hands were calloused from labor, her eyes sharp and discerning. Yet beneath her resilience lay a heart tender with grief, a heart that longed but had learned to endure. When a drenched, weary stranger appeared at her gates one stormy evening, she hesitated. But the storm raged with such fury that leaving him to the night would have been cruel. She offered him shelter, not for sentiment, not yet. But necessity demanded kindness, even if it prickled her pride. And as the fire crackled and rain pelted the roof, something unspoken passed between them, a flicker, fragile, yet undeniable.
The storm did not pass quietly. Thunder cracked across the mesa, lightning illuminating the cliffs in brief, brilliant flashes. Rain turned the dry earth to mud, streams swelled with fury, and the wind howled like a restless spirit. Silas's wound throbbed with each movement, a reminder of battles past, of nights spent under open sky with nothing but stars and regrets for company. Lydia's care was deliberate, her hands gentle yet firm as she bound his injuries, fed him warm broth, and guided him to rest. By the fire, their eyes met. No words were needed. Each glance spoke volumes. He had known the weight of solitude. She had known the ache of loss. And now, together,
They shared a fleeting sanctuary in the midst of chaos. In the days that followed, the rhythm of ranch life brought them closer. Silas repaired fences, checked the herd, and moved with a precision that impressed even Lydia. She, in turn, showed him the patterns of the land, the language of the sky, and the quiet rewards of diligence. Shared labor became companionship, and companionship hinted at something more, a possibility neither dared name aloud.
Yet peace is fragile in the West. Word travels faster than men, and Silas's past was never far behind. A gang of outlaws, seeking vengeance for bounty claims collected, tracked him across plains and mesas. Red Mesa, once a haven, now shimmered as a potential battlefield. Lydia's home became both target and refuge. She learned to move with vigilance, to anticipate danger, to protect what was hers. Silas trained her in subtle defense, in understanding the land's whispers, in seeing the signs of imminent threat. Trust, once tentative, now began to root itself deep. They were drawn together by necessity, yes, but also by admiration, respect, and the shared recognition that two people facing hardship together could become stronger than the sum of their parts.
The dawn was jagged with tension. Dust spiraled on the horizon like smoke from a distant fire. Hooves thundered, and the first shots of warning rang out, echoing against the cliffs. The outlaws had come, ruthless and relentless. Silas and Lydia moved with purpose. Fences were reinforced, cattle driven to hidden corrals, and barricades set with strategic precision. Lydia, once only a caretaker, now became a defender, her ingenuity matching Silas's lethal skill. The battle was swift, brutal, and elemental. Gunfire tore through the valley, the wind carrying both smoke and adrenaline. When the dust finally settled, the outlaws were routed, their pride broken, their threat diminished. Harper's Hollow bore scars, yet it stood strong, its walls echoing with resilience. And in that quiet aftermath, something fragile yet profound took root in Silas and Lydia's hearts. The courage to face not just enemies, but themselves, and the chance to love without fear.
Weeks became months. Rain nourished the parched earth. Rivers swelled and shimmered. Wildflowers colored the mesa's edges. Harper's Hollow thrived once more, and so did the lives of its caretakers. Silas, the wanderer, found joy in routine and quiet purpose. Lydia, once shadowed by grief, embraced laughter and hope. Together they celebrated the small victories, a new calf born, a fence mended, a storm weathered. Ethan, initially shy, grew to admire and love Silas as a mentor, a protector, and eventually a steady father figure. The family they formed was quiet, steadfast, and whole in a way neither had dared imagine. Love was not a grand declaration. It was a shared glance, a helping hand, a quiet understanding.
Years passed, and the mesa remained timeless. Its cliffs bathed in golden light, valleys resonating with the laughter of children and the soft sigh of the wind. Silas and Lydia sat side by side on the ranch porch, hands intertwined, hearts steady. Red Mesa had witnessed storms, danger, and heartache, but it had also seen courage, resilience, and love flourish. The wind carried their story across the plains, a testament to two souls who faced the wild and found within it home. And as the last light of day kissed the mesa, Silas whispered to Lydia, not in words, but in the quiet certainty of presence. Here, in this unforgiving land, they had found what everyone seeks,
but few discover. A life, together, unbroken. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western love stories under the open sky.